welcome to my podcast, Trade Secrets. Today I have a phenomenal drummer, producer, friend, cool guy, songwriter. He does all the things that can be. Oh, and now sort of studio designer,
Well,
venue,
a venue, yeah, a major
venue,
venue we're putting together,
major
yeah,
venue.
and so for recording.
This is Tony Braunagel. Everybody.
Hello, everybody. Hello,
You've heard his hands and you've probably seen him.
You might have danced to me.
Yes, you definitely would have danced to you. It's pretty unscripted. I ask the main question that I ask, and kind of the purpose of this is to show people there's no one way to end up in your quote unquote perfect job. And I ask one question, which is, where were you born?
Oh, okay. I was born in Houston, Texas,
all
Heights
right.
Hospital.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's the Houston comes out. There we go.
Yeah.
Is that chair comfortable? I think we're both uncomfortable, but I don't know what.
No, I'm okay. I've found a spot here.
Okay, good.
I'm just going to lean in here.
And one of the things that I mentioned is, did you go to public school?
No.
Did you go to private school?
I went to private school all 12 years because
What?
Well, my parents saw my potential personality going down the wrong path. Other than I did
But like
become
Catholic school or parochial?
Yes, correct.
Oh,
Catholic.
really?
Yeah, and I after the 8 years of the Catholic school, 1 through 8, I was kind of like, I think I want to go to public school. And of course, I was starting to run around on the streets with some guys that my mom and dad went, "Who is that guy? Who are you?" No, what? No. And then when they realized they were all public school boys, and they were probably going the wrong way, and I was having a lot of fun with them. And
Did the Catholic school stop you from going the wrong way?
Yes.
What?
I don't. Miraculously, the discipline of the nuns and the priests and everything was like something that, and I took to it because I feel like I got a better one-on-one education situation. Right. I think they paid more attention to me.
Oh, maybe.
Did
they have arts programs in that private school, though? See, that's what I was wondering.
Not really good ones back then, but they had some. Yes, you could take art classes. You could take speech.
Did you have chorus?
Drama and chorus.
Okay.
I took drama and acted in several plays.
Oh, I can see that.
I actually helped direct one with one of the main nuns, and I was a director of something. And
now, what's your style of acting? Shamanic? Like, the Nicolas Cage, the shamanic style of acting?
Absolutely not.
I did a lot of drama in college too. Well, I was asking about that because I wanted to find out, like, what was that first exposure, and was there support for you wanting to
be
play
creative.
music? Just be creative in general.
Yeah, I think even down to the uncles and aunts who all discovered like the personality that started sticking out, maybe at the age of 6, 7, 8, whatever. When
we're hams.
Yeah, when you start to ham up a little bit,
yeah.
and when you're playing with all the others, you've got a certain way of doing it. I was never really aggressive or mean or whatever, but I was there. I was very present, and I always had a bit of an attitude, not bad, but I always would let you know how I felt about something, and I could argue I could argue like crazy. And I had an
aunt. Is that a thing?
I had an aunt said,
"How's that worked out for you?"
Let me tell you. No.
Yeah, exactly.
No, wait, let me tell you. No.
It's my way.
I'm going to tell you my way now. She said, if he doesn't become a lawyer, something's wrong. It's a waste.
Right.
And
perfect.
And I understood that, and as I am around someone at my significant other is a paralegal and everything, and I realize those instincts that are in there, and basically I've used it to help myself survive as an artist in difficult situations.
Stand up for yourself?
For myself and for others. Like
nice.
If a group of people, if our band, guys or whatever, are human beings working on the project, and I go, hey, wait a second, hold on, we need to discuss this. You guys are taking advantage of this situation.
I found the adjustment on my chair.
Oh, look at you.
So excited.
I'm wondering what you're doing down there.
Yeah, the lumbar was just like cranked into my lower
scratching?
back. Yeah, now I'm way better, yes.
We want Candace to be comfortable.
Yeah, it's not, I don't usually hurt my back. But so you're at private Catholic school. Now, when was the the trajectory? So you're in high school, all through school. It's private school. It's Catholic school of Hawaii.
All the way through.
Okay. What do you remember a moment in time, or what was it that made you want to play music?
I couldn't help myself when I was a kid listening to music, and I would grab my mom. We would go to it's Texas, so there's like beer joints they call them, where you
juke
would go
joints, whatever.
yeah, juke joints, whatever, and the family would go to a friendly beer joint and have beer or barbecue outside or whatever. And there was always a jukebox, and it was like, hey, Dad, give me some money. So I would be pumping nickels into the jukebox and playing music because I needed to hear it.
I love it.
And I love to dance. And so I grabbed my mom.
We have our own dance.
You and I have a dance. We might do it for
We might have to
everybody.
do it on camera. Yeah, Tony and I actually have a dance that we created years ago together. It's called
we
the
did.
Sedula dance. We'll tell you about that later.
Okay. So I would grab her and I would say, Mom, and I would be reaching up here like this and dancing with her. And, my sense of rhythm was developed early. And my dad played guitar.
This is where it starts to make sense.
My dad plays guitar like on weekends, weekend warrior, up until he got married. And after that, he kept the guitar, but he didn't play it anymore, which I find frustrating now.
Yeah.
But I was always around music. There was always music playing. The radio was always going on. My dad was always playing records, and it was all country music.
Yeah.
One day, my cousin, I'm going to say approximately 10, maybe 11 years old. My cousin is kind of looking after me and my other cousin. She was older, and we're hanging out at her house. And there was nothing but country music played.
Let me guess, it was an English band.
No.
Oh.
It was 2 black radio stations in Houston, Texas. And when I heard that music and that bump and that grind and that feel and that spirit come out, I went crazy. And so, quick story, I basically was washing the car one Saturday, and my dad would let me drive at 30 feet because I wanted to drive really bad.
Yeah, I had permit at 14.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, me too.
We were driving early in the South.
So I was cleaning up the car and everything, and I took the 2 buttons on the radio, and I pressed the last 2 buttons to the 2 black stations, and my dad was a button pusher. And the next day, after going to church, driving out to Grandma's for brunch or whatever, my dad's pressing those buttons, and he hears that, and he goes, "What? Where did that?" And I'm like sheepish in the back, and he said, "Where did you hear that music?" And I said, "Cousin Betty." And to this day, I give her credit for that.
Cousin
It
Betty.
changed my life musically.
Oh, dude.
And I couldn't stop going for it and listening to it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I did over and over and over and over. And then next thing you know, I started picking up drumsticks and playing. And I bought my first drum kit at the age of 15.
What was your first kit? What make?
It was a Kent, K-E-N-T. It was basically from Western Auto, I think.
Oh, wow. It's funny because, you just met the person that I just talked to a minute ago, and we never, ever even talked about drums.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah, he was talking more about other stuff. But I remember, and we've known each other for a long time, and I don't know if you know this, but I have 3 older brothers, and 2 of them were musicians, and I'm from Charleston, South Carolina.
I know that.
And they came out to L.A. to pursue being rock stars. My older brother, Rick Smith, my second brother, Steve, had a band together. Rick is a fine guitar player, and he's a blues player, kind of a Delta blues player. He's a white guy, but he plays, obviously, but he plays like an old black guy, like son of Robert Johnson and stuff like that. My brother plays a resonator. He really channels that type of music. But yes, I was around music my whole life, but I never played an instrument. I don't play an instrument. But my parents were very supportive, but same kind of vibe, which was that, okay, we're living in, where we're living. And, and they're listening to Mel Torme.
Yes.
Or the Cleopatra, motion picture soundtrack. But that always my mom always had soundtrack albums.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I realize that now. I'm thinking about that now. It was random,
There was an attraction to that. I had aunts and uncles who bought lots of records, and they all bought soundtrack albums.
Yeah, soundtrack albums. But then, and then the Beatles kind of came forefront and stuff like that. I'm a little bit younger than you, but my oldest brother's 75. So, but Rick, it was all about James Brown, Ray Charles, Motown. It was all about that. It was all about that type of music. I know, it's the goosebumps.
See, that's goosebumps
because it's just the good stuff. It's just the good stuff, But my parents were cool. They didn't.
Were cool?
They didn't. There was no.
Well, you know, the area you grew up in.
They weren't racist, though. My parents.
They weren't.
No, we're not.
Well, I grew up around that.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I mean, it was around, but my parents were not at all.
Mine weren't. Bad at it, but
My
they were
high
like,
school was like 70% black because I grew
Oh
up.
my God.
Well, I grew up on an island called James Island, and all around Charleston, all those
beautiful.
islands like John's Island and James. It is beautiful, but all those islands out there, the majority of the people that live on those are black people, and they've been there for 300
Right.
years.
Well, that's the Piedmont region. That was where
We're the Low Country.
you're the Low Country.
We're the
Piedmont
Low Country.
is North
Piedmont's
Carolina.
middle. Piedmont's in the middle of the state.
Okay, cool. So that Piedmont blues was like a birth of a certain style of
Right.
the slaves that
Yes.
indigenous
Yes.
that moved there to that
Yeah.
area.
What-
They created a type of
And it's like,
music as
well, there's a language and a whole culture called the Gullah-Geechee culture, and
I'm hip.
and they're West African. They're from Senegal
Right.
originally.
Senegalese.
From Senegalese. So, and the food, which is our southern food, low country food, is really like Senegalese food. It's rice and shrimp. You know, it's not hot or spicy particularly, and it's
Right.
not like New Orleans. It's
Right.
its own thing. Low country cooking's its own thing, but it is Senegalese.
Wow.
Yeah,
Isn't that amazing
so
how
Gullah-
much
Oh, it's awesome.
the things we get from all the old cultures that we don't
Well, dude,
know
what
about?
I
and we think,
what I like, and again, this is about you, and you talk about you, but what I liked about it is that even when I was in first and second grade, they were championing the Gullah culture. We had Gullah
really?
Bibles. They played albums to us in the Gullah language, so they were always reverent of that culture on the Sea Island that I grew up. They were
Really?
very reverent too, and still very much so
Really?
now. Very much so now. Now there's restaurants that are Gullah restaurants. But and I brought my brother a Gullah cookbook last year. Gullah Geechee
no.
cookbook.
I got to tell Taj Mahal about that.
Yeah. It's
Because
called.
he's got family from that area as well.
We never called it Geechee. Geechee was something that
Geechee.
we thought of that was like I thought that was more New Orleans, but they call it the Gullah Geechee culture.
Wow.
Gullah.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Bibles and everything.
And there's people still holding that music up and
Oh, the music
helping it
and
survive.
the dialect. It's the patois of where I'm from
right.
is Gullah. So it's kind of like Hawaiian speaking pidgin.
Right.
You know, it's very similar
Yeah.
when you know, but the whites that I grew up with that's the accent they have. They have that like what I going to do.
Right,
But
right.
Charleston accent's pretty benign. It's like pretty. It's not deep South or
Right.
really.
Yeah,
thing.
it's not. It's not.
It's
yeah.
pretty mellow accent. But the Gullah accent is you're dealing with a real Charlestonian if you're talking to somebody, especially if they're white, and they say like, "What I'm going to do? You come over here now. It's my courtesy," which means it's my pleasure. Yeah.
I love that.
Adjectives become verbs, it's
Yeah,
a whole
I just
thing.
love
I don't know why
that
we
so
went off on
much.
this. But where you grew up, probably, we were talking about, you get exposed to all different kinds of music. You got AM radio and top 40 radio, and I'm a little bit younger than you, so what started happening was that you would hear black artist on a white station. You would hear Motown.
Motown and Stax.
All mixed together.
Moved over into that, and then Philadelphia later on.
Yes, and everything
you know.
would be mixed together. And one thing that I bring up, and I don't know if you've ever seen it. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. In 1964, they did this thing called the Tammy Awards. And they did it at the Santa Monica Civic. And Jan and Dean were the hosts.
I think I saw that.
Okay,
That's
right?
old.
But you had
old.
Leslie Gore, you had Jerry and the Pacemakers, you had Chuck Berry, you had the Supremes.
Right.
James Brown does 3 encores, and the Stones follow James Brown.
Oh my God.
And it's 1964.
Oh God.
And
How
poor
classic.
Mick Jagger, what
Right,
I
following
mean?
James Brown.
After 3 encores with the cape and the whole fucking thing.
Sorry, Mick.
Yeah. And you see his face.
Yeah.
If you watch it, he's like, oh, crap, how about this? But it became more and more that it was just top 40
Right,
radio.
right.
But when it first was around, no, it was you're not listening to that music.
Well, I was, and my father said, "Where did you hear that?" Now, when I told him, he was like, Then he was curious as to how this is happening. And then next thing you know, I start playing drums, and I'm playing drums, but I'm playing rhythm and blues. I'm playing some country every once in a while, but I am playing rhythm and blues with mixed bands of African American, black, Hispanic, and white guys.
Yeah.
And that's the way the culture was, and all the musicians fell together that way, and we never looked at each other any different.
Well, that's the great thing about musicians. Age doesn't matter, color doesn't matter, gender doesn't matter.
Thank God.
But you gotta be good.
Exactly.
You just gotta hold up your end,
That
man.
was it. That
You
was
only
it.
become the shitty girl guitar player if you're a shitty
Yeah,
guitar
shitty girl.
player.
There were a few people that was, there was a guy, a bass player by the name of George Brown. He was about 6'4", and he was really soft. He was big voice, like, an R&B singer, and he played bass, and he played with some famous people, but he always took me in and he goes, "Shorty, come over here. Shorty, now listen to me. We're going to do it like this, okay, Shorty?"
I love it.
And he would just and if anybody messed with me, he goes, "Shorty, anybody mess with you? I got something out in my glove compartment."
Yeah, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's the way it was.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I love that. You take care of your own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, so you're playing around, just
Yeah.
like playing locally. Would you do like school dances or?
Yeah, every once in a while, I went at the age of 15 the day I bought my first drum kit from my best friend Willie Arnellis, who lived down the street from
Who
me.
I love.
Willie and
Who's a badass.
we grew up together, and
Where is he living in Mexico now?
He's living in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
He was one of the top session film, especially film guys here in town for a long time. And he toured with Sonny and Cher and all these other amazing artists and stuff like that over the years.
But he grew up where you grew up?
Down the street. He
What?
moved in. They moved from Mexico City when he was a kid, and he moved in. I think I was about 6 or 7, and he was about 9.
I love that.
And, I mean, we were such good
I
friends.
love
I mean,
Willie.
we would play
I never
football
knew
and
that.
baseball out on the
never knew you
lot
grew up
next to my
together.
house, and then
The sandlot.
The sandlot, and if I rode a bicycle by his house, he'd throw rocks at me, and if he rode by my house, I'd throw rocks at him.
I love it.
We played basketball in my driveway. I mean, my parents knew him. So it was just one of my best friends. Still,
And what's the name of this town?
Houston, Texas.
Oh, it's Houston.
Oh, it's Houston,
A suburb of Houston?
Yeah. No, north side.
North side.
We're on the north side. We weren't far from between. I always like to identify as there was a ghetto over called Acres Home, and there was a place called Fifth Ward. So, and to me, the music cultures came out of Fifth Ward and Third Ward.
Oh,
in
gotcha.
Houston. And Third Ward in Houston was kind of almost like.
The Ninth Ward.
Well, yeah, but it was more like the Harlem of the South
Oh,
musically.
gotcha.
With all the great music that came
Oh,
out of
wow.
there. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Duke and Peacock Records.
Nice.
Tons of hits.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is actually awesome that you got exposed to all these different types
Yeah.
of music and
Early on.
And it's early on.
And of course, one day, we were rehearsal, and one of the horn players was playing some Miles Davis and some John Coltrane on he brought a record player to rehearsal with him, and he's playing little records and stuff like that. And I'm going, what's that? Next thing I know, they're throwing jazz at me.
My parents, like I was saying, they had like soundtrack records and stuff like that, but they were more like Sinatra or Torme or Bing Crosby and stuff like that. But I didn't really start listening to Miles, and Love Supreme is probably one of my favorite records of all time, John Coltrane. But I didn't start really getting into jazz until, like, this is an embarrassing thing to admit, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah.
Maybe 15 years ago?
Yeah.
Well, because I was a British invasion baby.
Yeah.
It was
hit you first,
Beatles,
yeah.
it was Zeppelin,
Yeah.
all that stuff, living in Charleston. Couldn't wait to get out. Now can't wait to go back. But but bands would tour there. And you live in Houston, so that's a major city for bands.
Well, there's if you lived in one of those spots like
Dallas, Houston.
they had to drive through and they had to stop and play.
Houston's a lot bigger city than Charleston, probably.
Well, now,
but we're coastal.
now,
We're a
yeah,
coastal town.
Yeah, but still going up the East Coast, they had to stop in Charleston.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It's a great spot too.
It's a great town.
Beautiful place.
Beautiful place.
Yeah.
But musically, there was a lot of live venues, and there would be a lot of blues, right? but we're not exactly the Delta, you know what I mean?
No,
It's
no.
but you'd get like blues guys that come through, or like Eric Johnson would come and
Sure,
play,
sure.
and different people would come through. The
Yeah.
Allman Brothers, they were our guys. The Allman Brothers,
'Cause you were
people from
close in-
Macon, you know. So, but and so my brother's band opened for the Allman Brothers,
Oh,
and I got to
wow.
meet them. They were all alive. I was 11, or 10 or 11. My brother was asked me about this the other day, and I smoked a joint and took a swig off of some Ripple or something.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
my brother goes, she's only 10 and or 11, and Barry Oakley goes, she looks like she's doing all right. Real soft-spoken
I got high with Dwayne. Yeah,
Georgia
okay.
accent, you know, that
Right,
real
right.
soft-spoken
She's doing all
heroin
right.
accent.
Yeah, well, there you go. There was that influence.
But I
right.
love the Allman Brothers, and
Yeah, me
so
too.
that kind of, you know, and that, but them doing like Tied to the Whipping Post and Stormy Monday, then you're like, oh, okay, they're playing like blues standards. They're playing like stuff. They're just rocking it up.
They were just having fun. They were
They're
kids.
just having fun.
They picked up the blues book and like I did, and that's
Yeah.
how I learned to play. It was by paying attention to that music. My favorite drummers were Benji Benjamin and Al Jackson Jr. and all the guys that played on all the records
Yeah.
from Stax and Motown, and
Yeah.
then later on High Records, and then the Philly guys, you know, and then the New York guys stuck, and then the Session guys started in L.A.
The other day I
and-
had an
and boom, boom.
OJ's day.
You-
Speaking
oh,
of Philly.
really? You played OJ's all
I
day
played
long?
OJ's all day.
Did you dance around?
Well, Don Murray was working in Studio One, and he was the engineer who recorded "For the Love of Money." Money, 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 money. When he
whoa.
was real young, he's from Philly, and he's our age now, and I always bring that up. And he's like, I was 19, you know. And I'm like, but it sounds great, man. That song is memorable. That's a memorable song. But yeah, I think. By the way, if I haven't said this in any of the other episodes, God bless the African American music community
Thank you.
for bringing their
Thank you.
music to the
Thank
United
you.
States.
It filled up.
Thank you.
Thank you. It filled up my life totally. Totally.
Still does.
It's still
actually.
every day.
And every influence therein. So, you know, my other friend, who's your friend, who you know, Dusty Wakeman, who's also from Tejas, who's
Yes.
from Dallas. I had him on, and he was talking about that, like playing in high school and mixed bands and
Mm-hmm.
everything. So yeah, we'll get off that topic, but just know that music is music, and we love it all.
We
and
love
God
it all.
Bless.
We love it all over the world.
So when you said you got that first gig when you got the first kit.
That day,
Like how did they know?
crazy story.
Okay.
So I was going down, and when Willie was playing, and I could hear him play, and I'm going knocking on the door. What are you doing? He's playing drums. But he'd already been playing a few years, and he was playing professionally, and he had this drum kit.
What did that mean at that stage?
He was doing gigs on weekends
And getting paid.
and getting paid.
Okay, so that's professional.
It's professional.
Okay,
And
I
in fact, I
agree.
think he even quit school one year for a couple of months and went out and toured with some white trash blues band, whatever.
Got
And
it.
his mom and dad were freaking out, but he went and did it. And then he came back and finished high school. But I could hear him playing, and I'm knocking over. Hey, Willie, what's going on in there, man? And yeah, okay. And that's when I'd already picked up the music, but he was playing Bobby Bland and Ray Charles and everything, and it was just blaring, and he was playing to it, and I'm sitting there, and I'd already picked up the drumsticks, had some. I would play the pots and barrels out in the yard and stuff like that. And my cousin had a drum kit. When I'd go to his house, I'd go straight to
So
his
you have
drum
rhythm.
room. I had rhythm. I could dance. I'd go straight to his room and I'd play it till he goes, Tony, stop playing. Well, back then I was Anthony. No, my name had changed by then. Tony, stop playing. You're making too much noise. And all I wanted to do was hit the drums. So I go and I pick up all this music, listen to Willie, and he, being a friend that he is, he took me in and started listening and teaching me
Different styles.
Yeah, and then he kind of grabbed my hands a couple of times and showed me how to hold drumsticks. That's all the lesson I got before I started playing. I walk in one day, I said, what's that other drum kit doing here, man? He goes, it's a beautiful old Rogers. It was new then. He said, I'm going to buy that. And I said, really? Yeah. He goes, what are you going to do with that kit? He goes, no, I'm going to sell it. You know, he looks at me and goes, you want to buy it? And I go, well, yes, I want to buy it, but how am I going to get the money? So I got on my motor scooter and I drove over to this shop, lawnmower shop or something. I said, you want to buy this? I'll sell it. And they gave me $45 for it. I walked 2 miles back over to his place. I dropped $45 on. He said, I'll sell it to you for $100, but I need the $100 within 7 days. And I
Oh,
went,
Jesus, it's the mob. You got
yeah,
40.
totally.
You got 6 days to
you
get
got
55
6
bucks.
days. All right. So I dropped the 45 bucks and everything, and I'm going, how am I going to do this? I haven't told my mom and dad, although I did say something. I'm going to sell the motor scooter, and they go, why? Because I'm buying a drum kit, and they both went, what's going on? My mom
My
and
parents
dad.
were worn out by the time I was a fourth kid.
So I'm sitting at the table we would always sit out in the kitchen because his folks were from Mexico, and Poppy would always cook something, whatever. And when he would cook, he'd look, and if he saw me and Willie in the
Extra food for you.
kitchen, he'd go, and he'd hand us food. So we're sitting there waiting for Poppy to hand us food, delicious Mexican food. We're sitting in the kitchen, the phone rings, and it's somebody he knew, an artist, a guitar player that he knew. And he said, and he's got the phone, he goes, yeah, hey, man, how you doing? He said, no, I'm working tonight. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, man. I'm working already. He goes, do I know any other drummers? And he looks across the table at me and goes, you want a gig? And I said, I don't know. I got to ask my mom and dad.
From playing in the bedroom.
Right, from playing in the bedroom. So he goes, you better get down there and ask them. So he hung up, said, we'll call you back. I go down and I barrage my father like nobody's business, selling my whole self to him about playing drums like nobody. I wish I had a recording of the things that I said
to support
this whole thing. And he just got frustrated. Said, go talk to your mom. No, I said no. Mom, she gets frustrated. She was a sweetheart. She goes, I've heard enough. Go talk to your dad. And so I go, Dad.
Mom said it was cool.
Dad, yeah, I kind of.
That's always the way.
I always did that a little bit.
Yeah.
And I walked back, and my dad said, all right, okay, here's the deal. I don't want you to take in any funny cigarettes, okay? And he said, I don't want you talking to any of the women now.
And you can't miss school.
Didn't want me to, right, can't miss school. He didn't want me going down.
Can't get anybody pregnant.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Don't get anybody pregnant.
And I and my 15-year-old
Because if you talk to the girls, they'll get pregnant.
Don't get pregnant. I said.
If you look at them, they'll get pregnant.
That's kind of what he was like. Go, don't even talk to them, all right? You never know what's going to happen. Don't go outside with them and take one of those cigarettes and talk to them because they'll get pregnant and you get arrested, okay? That's how it is. Then you'll be in jail and we have to get you out of prison, okay? You understand? Okay. So it just went down that path. And I said, in my 15-year-old voice, I said, Dad, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm only 15. I didn't really understand, taking a cigarette that was a weird cigarette. And of course I like girls, but it wasn't.
Dude, I was getting stoned, way getting stoned by then.
No, I wasn't. It took me a couple of years after that.
Okay, this is the difference between Catholic school and public school. Public school, you're getting stoned.
But there was no pot around then at all except for the musicians and jazz musicians.
Dude.
There was no pot around. It wasn't like it was out on the street.
Dude, our pot was coming up probably coming up through Florida to South Carolina, but we definitely, we had Mexico weed too.
I got mine through Mexican musicians.
Yeah. But it must be because I had older brothers. That's got to be it.
Well, that helped a little bit because there was always the age thing of somebody else that could bring it to you.
Now, where do you fall in your family? Middle, oldest? Where are you
I'm
at?
oldest. It's just me and my
so
brother.
You're the oldest. So so this is why your parents are
pioneering.
trying to.
Oh yeah, I'm pioneering.
You're breaking the fences.
I'm breaking the mold with cousins. The whole family's going, oh my God, I heard Tony played
Cousin Betty.
Cousin Betty. She laughed. And a couple of my aunts laughed. Oh my God, my dad. Albert's going to freak out. Tony's playing music now, But anyhow, so I go back to Willie's and I said, I can do it. So he calls the guy back and the guy says, okay. Willie says, but he doesn't have a car, so you have to come pick him up. Okay. All right. Come pick him up. Where? At my house. He'll be on the front porch waiting for you at 7 o'clock or whatever. And so the guys pull up, and the two grown men, big old guys, Texas guys, and one of them walks up to the front porch and says, I'm looking for a guy by the name of Tony.
Are you the drummer?
And I go, hi, I'm Tony. And I'm standing there with my little drum kit, And so he goes, disbelief. Okay, let's load up. So we put everything in the trunk, and I get in the car, and we drive down the block, and they're both being quiet. There was another guy in the front seat, and he was the bass player. And I said, the guy goes, so where you been playing at lately? And I said, a couple
around.
Sock hops, around. My cousin's garage. We jam in a sock hop at school, and and the guy goes, wait a minute, this is your first gig? And I go, yes, it's my first gig. And then the guy that was in the
voice
front
is cracking.
seat. Well, I was 15. It was probably still changing. You know what I mean? And the guy that was in the front seat that I couldn't see from behind hadn't turned around yet. And when I said, you know, yes, it's my first gig, he turned around. He had a glass eye, and it scared me to death.
A glass
Yeah,
eye.
he goes, no shit. Like that, and I'm going,
Whoa.
this is a horror movie. You know, I'll never come back alive. So they both kind of chuckle a little bit, and the guy says, man, that Willie, he did it to us, didn't he? So then the guy
And
says,
they're like, fuck it. They got no choice. They got to play the gig.
so I went to the gig and sat up, and I'm waiting in the corner because I don't know what to do, and I can't take any funny cigarettes, and I can't talk to any women, and I don't drink beer. I'm only 15 in a nightclub. And so this, right at the last second, the sax player arrives at the last second before we're supposed to start playing. Guy says to the sax player, this is Tony. He's our drummer for the night. And the guy's name was Armando. And he goes, hey, Tony, how you doing? He didn't act weird that I was young at all.
Oh, wow. We
You
like
know,
this guy.
he just like, hey, man, how you doing? Cool. And he just starts playing the sax. And I just fell right in. No one said a word. I fell right into it and started playing.
I love you so
At the
fucking much right now.
end of
Such
the-
big balls.
So totally.
Oh, my God.
At the end of the night, they asked me back the following weekend.
Oh.
I made
But
I
what
made
kind of-
$12 a night back then. You
Dude,
know,
enough to pay off those drums.
I
You
paid
had
them
a
off
week.
in about a week.
Dude, I love that story.
Yeah.
Do you remember any of those songs? What were the songs? What were you playing?
Oh, they were all the R&B songs of. Right now, you asked me a question.
Oh, I
have
don't
to
know.
sit
It
down,
doesn't matter.
Look at the catalog, but you
No, it doesn't
know, and
matter.
it was "Talk to Me," da-da,
Oh, stuff
Sonny
like
and the
that.
Sunliners, and all the.
Okay.
Yeah, it was anything that came out of all of those catalogs.
Did you have that whole like we had like the Tams and the Drifters
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, and they call it beach music where I'm from because I
Right.
grew up on the beach, right?
Right.
But,
What's that dance they do about over there?
The shag.
The
The
shag.
shag, yeah, the shag. Yeah, the shag is a dance that you dance to beach music, and it's similar to our dance.
Yeah,
actually,
it is. Yeah, yeah.
it's similar to our dance, but yeah, I would go to the pier, the end of the Folly Pier, and you'd have like, and you don't know when you're a kid. First of all, I don't know how to explain this. At the same time, you think everything's cool, and you've got that wonder and that joy. And at the same time, you think that nothing is cool in your
That's true.
hometown. You know, you think like it couldn't possibly be cool because it's here, and we're not that cool.
Right,
So it
exactly.
couldn't possibly be cool. But then you look back and you go, fuck, dude, it was the Temptations. Fucking, it was Smokey Robinson and the fucking Miracles playing on like a Saturday night when I was like 7 or 8.
We didn't realize how classic it was going to be in
So
our lives,
classic.
and internationally how classic that was all.
how
going to be.
and how famous all that Motown stuff was going to be, because you know you're 6 and you're like, oh, they couldn't possibly be coming here, you know, or who is that? Smokey Robinson, the Miracles? Who is that? Why does he have blue eyes? What's going on?
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, I saw Smokey Robinson, the Miracles when I was like 8.
Yeah, exactly. And that music is still affecting even pop music today.
Oh, dude,
you know,
so good.
you get
so
into
good.
when it gets a little too electronic for me, then it kind of goes away. But as long as the melodies are in there, everybody's still singing that stuff, which all of it came from hymns and church
Yes,
and
gospel
and
still.
gospel. You know,
Yeah.
it's all of that.
Well, Elvis Presley,
Totally.
all from gospel.
Hanging out back of the nightclub with the black nightclub, listening to those guys, and
Yeah.
then copied it.
You're
you know?
good. Yeah, if you're singing in church
Yeah.
and you're singing good, you can probably sing.
Probably better than most.
Probably better than
Yeah,
most. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, so and now did you after that? That's such a great story, by the way. So after that initial gig, it became quickly known.
That I was going to be a drummer, except that I had to continue to make good grades, and
Yeah,
I
of course.
did, and I was kind of an A, B plus type of student up
Yeah.
until I started then playing in some nightclubs during school.
Smoking the funny cigarettes.
And I not funny cigarettes yet, and then a couple of my grades started going down, and I would, you know, I've worked in a strip club when I was 16 years old, and
You
I still
played a
did-
gig?
I played.
Or you were a
gigs.
bouncer?
I was the drummer in a strip club for a while.
Oh, dude, and the classic.
This is I've
Brushes and
told this
snare.
story. No, it was just boom, ba ba, boom, ba ba, boom. Anything they could dance
you are
to.
the first person.
Anything that they could do this
You
to,
are the
right?
first person who played
As
to
long-
the tassel.
As long as they had the right rhythm for this, it was okay. You know.
You are the
Amazing.
first person I've talked to on my podcast who played in a strip club.
I did when I was about 16.
Oh,
Yeah, and my mom and dad didn't know it was a strip club, and so
They didn't come down, did they?
well, till one night, my dad. I always got a ride from the bass player or the guitar player, and I kept it quiet, kept it a secret.
Yeah.
And then one night I couldn't get a ride, and my dad heard me say, "Well, I'll give you a ride, son." And I said, "No, it's okay, Dad. I'll call my cousin to come get me or something." I said, "I'll give you a ride." He drives me over there, and we're pulling up.
Holy
And he's
crap.
got to drop me off, and I'm like,
It's
I'm
like
frozen.
Pussycat 2 or whatever the fuck it's called.
It was the polka dot lounge.
Well, that's pretty benign.
Pretty good. And my dad pulls up, and there's this marquee out front that said topless dancers. And my dad goes, "Son, that says topless dancers." And I go,
Yeah.
Yes, Dad. He goes, "Well, son, that's
Poor Albert,
women
man.
Poor my dad. I put him through it. You know what I mean? I put Albert through it, man. God bless you, Dad. I love you." He goes, "Son, does women take their clothes off?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Now that could be a mortal sin, you know. I mean, Catholic.
Yeah.
You're immediately like you're doing wrong.
You're all going to die.
You're all gonna die." And I said, "Can I say this in your
You
podcast?"
can say whatever you want.
I said to my dad, I came up with a lie immediately, and I said to my dad, "Well, you know, Dad, I asked Father so and so at school," and he goes, and I said, and he said, if you don't get an erection, it's not a mortal sin. You don't get excited, all right?" And my dad said,
Then you're not objectifying the
"Well,
women.
you spoke to Father about it." I said, "Yeah."
This is too good, dude. Oh,
And so I went in and I
man.
played, and then
Okay, so now I have to ask. You're a 15, 16-year-old boy. The wind blows, you get an erection.
Whoa, forget
now,
it.
Yeah, now you're playing
Oh,
this.
no,
Are you just tenting the whole time
there
you're
was
playing?
there was a one stripper. Her name was Bambi Doll, and
I can't concentrate on the drums.
and the stage is like this, and we're playing out into this lounge. It's a seedy ass white,
God bless it.
lounge, and so the dressing room was right over here, and there was a curtain. And they would go in there and they would change their clothes and take off their street clothes and put the stuff on. And then they would come out dancing with something on, and they would slowly take it all off. And there was this one stripper there that she would just tease me. And I'd be up there playing, and she'd stand
Try to
over there at the
distract
curtain.
you.
She'd stand over at the curtain with nothing and
Like
go.
flashing. Oh, dude.
And of course, I mean,
You're going to.
it's hard to play when that's going on. It's difficult. Pants get really tight.
Amazing restraint and
You're
control
right.
is developed during this part of your career.
My aunt was she was a character, and she lived nearby, and she found out that my dad had found out, and she always mixed it up with my dad. Either made fun of him or egged him on or got him to, because my dad was funny and he was a great guy. But she would go, "Albert found out that Tony was," yeah. I said, "Oh my God." She said to my mom, she goes, "Oh my God, that must have been hilarious." And my mom goes, "Well, I don't think Albert thought it was very funny." And
You're all
so
towing
a
the
couple
line.
of nights later, my aunt and uncle said they're coming out to see me play, and they bring my mom and dad.
Oh, Jesus. To the polka dot? Oh, Jesus. Tony, I have known you for quite some time, and I have never
I'm
heard
really
this story.
telling it today, girl.
I love
You are
it.
in the middle of.
No, but I love that this is what's going to make people. I know, I'm crying. This is what's going to make people listen, though. They're going to be like, "Did you hear Tony Braunagel-He's episode?"
Makes me look like a fool. No,
No,
this
it
is
doesn't at all.
this is my youth, basically.
Doesn't make you look like
no,
a fool.
I'm joking about that.
It shows the trials and tribulations and how
Yeah,
determined you were to play,
Correct.
man.
Correct.
Fuck it.
Nothing was going to get in the way.
Yeah, you
There was
were
nothing
going to
fucking getting in
play.
the way.
And Albert, and what was your mama's name?
Jody.
Albert and Jody, they went to the polka dot, and I'm sure your mother was every shade of purple.
She was, yeah. And my dad acted like he didn't see anything. And I remember when the stripper came on, and I'm going, "Oh Christ, here we go, boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom." She's out there dancing, and it's little by little getting down to G-string and tassels and da da da. And I look over, and my dad is not at the table. And I went,
He's gone to the bathroom.
something's going on. I look over at the other corner of the the room and poked his head around the corner, and he was watching her from over there because he didn't want Mom to see him looking at the
watching
street.
her. Oh, it's a
He's a good Catholic man.
He's a sweetie
He was a
pie.
real sweetheart. He
Yeah,
was,
he's a sweetie pie.
and I got over the table, and he sits there and looks straight ahead, and I sat down and said, "So, Dad, what did you think about the stripper?" He goes, "I wasn't watching." That's my father.
Dude, what a sweetie pie.
He was a
Well,
doll.
I think it's
Bless you, Dad.
I think, yeah, God bless Albert and Jody, because I
Both
have
of them.
no question that
Saints.
you put them through the ringer.
Saints, without a doubt, without a doubt.
So, post polka dot.
Post Polka Dot Lounge. Oh my gosh.
What was the follow up to the polka dot?
Well, I started playing, and I was playing in the nightclubs, and I got a better nightclub job, and then I.
Could you do a school gig at the Catholic school after having played in the polka dot? I mean, come on.
I never did after that.
I was gonna
I never
say,
did.
your father, what's his name?
My first year of college after high school, I played less the first year because I started going to school and college. I was going to a chiropractic college. It was like,
Wait a minute, you want to be a chiropractor?
well, I wanted to go to music school,
Right.
and my family was like, this guy needs to be a lawyer or a doctor,
Yeah, you got to make some money.
and you got to make some money.
We called it the you had to have something to quote unquote fall back on. Yeah, that was the expression.
And so I went to chiropractic college for 2 years. And the first year I worked in a bank after school, and I did a few weekend gigs, but I kept my thing going on. And then the second year I got the 5 night a week gig, and I was going to school 5 days, and I was working 5 nights in a nightclub, and I was making the club, making the grades, doing everything, and
You're young.
yeah, I was young, so I could just push myself. And then after the second year of college, I said to my mom, I said, "Honey,
I don't want to be a chiropractor.
I'm not going to go back to school the summer semester and I don't know, maybe I'll go back in the fall." And she looked at me and she goes, you're never going back, are you? And I went,
Probably not.
I don't know. I don't want to break your heart. And I didn't. And I stayed out. And that's when I got, I got the top, one of the top soul bands in town. I was playing in like a 10-piece soul band, and I'm going to college and working 6 nights a week and still making grades.
Yeah.
And then after that, I went, I'm done. I'm a drummer.
Yeah,
I'm a musician.
I'm a musician.
Y'all just, whatever, adjust.
Well, and you're making
whatever you have
money.
to. Well, yeah, and I was
Enough
making
money.
$130 a
That's
week
a lot of money then.
back then.
That's a lot of money back then.
Back then.
I've known you for a minute, and I never knew this crazy stuff. But
It's crazy.
Also, I think when I first met you would have been with John Porter.
Yeah.
You were working with Bonnie.
Yeah.
Probably with Bonnie Raitt.
Right, Bonnie Raitt.
And
80s.
we were doing Taj Mahal or
Yeah.
Otis Rush or all those records that we did at Red
Yeah.
Zone. And John would pull in, there was the guys. It was you, Johnny Lee Shell, Joe Sublette.
Yeah.
It was like the crew.
We had our team.
We had our team. We had the crew. But in between, when you, when did you move to L.A.?
I first moved to New York in like
Oh,
70
really? New York.
or 70, 71. We had I was in a band in Houston. I got out of nightclubs because I wanted to be in bands that got record deals and made
Right.
records and wrote songs. I wanted to be
You want to be on the radio?
a rock star.
Yeah, you want to be
Not
on
a
the
rock
radio.
star, but yeah, I want to be on the radio, exactly. And my first recording experience outside of Houston was in Memphis, but very early on, I took to what happens in a room like this in a studio.
My favorite studio in the whole world's in Memphis, and it's Ardent.
It's a
Ardent
fantastic
Studios.
studio.
It's one of the only studios that's as old or older than where we're sitting right now.
I know,
Which is,
exactly.
Ardent Studios still there.
Yeah, it is.
Still in Memphis.
Yep.
And we're sitting at East West, where I have the good fortune of being the manager. We happen to be in Studio 5 because it has natural light. We're not in one of the bigger rooms. But I record all over the whole building.
Yeah.
I do the podcast wherever I
cool,
can.
Cool.
But so you had a reverence early on for recording, and you noticed like the guys that were capturing it.
Very much so. And in Houston, when I would get called to play in the studio, I paid attention to what was going on. Why is that microphone there? Why does it do this? What does it do this when I hit this? And then I would hear it, and little by little, my ears developed a sense of what, SPL, and
Your drum sound.
yeah, my drum sound,
Yeah.
exactly. And to this day, I hone that down as best I can all the time. And I'm really crazy and particular
you're a great
about it.
producer, dude. You're a great
particularly.
producer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you've done some amazing stuff.
Well, thanks.
But we're skipping all around. I want to go back to, so you moved to New York.
Yeah, I moved to New York, and I got, we had a record deal, and it when the record was released and nothing happened, fizzled out.
What was the name of that band?
Balloons, BLOONTZ.
What's the fuck?
I know it doesn't make
It's kind
any
of a
sense.
fucked up
No,
name.
that's what we were smoking
Sorry,
back
y'all.
then.
Oh, yeah, blunts.
Blunts. I don't know.
Yeah, that's funny.
So the record deal didn't go, and then we got an opportunity to work with Johnny Nash, who was we knew from Houston. We had an affiliation, a friendship, and whatnot. And so he came in and he hired most of us to be in his band, and then he brought some Ghanaians over, 4 Ghanaians. That was school for me.
What's a Ghanaian?
The 4 Ghanaians, 4 Africans.
Oh, okay.
He brought these 4 Africans over from England that he had met over there. There was 3 horns.
If you're Ghanaian, are you from Ghana?
Ghana.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah. And so their music, indigenous music, was so infectious, and I got so many lessons from them because they would go, Tony, come after rehearsal or sound check or whatever. They go, Tony, come, let me show you something.
Drum circle.
And they exactly, and they would play a pattern, and they'd say, play this, no, play that, play this, now play that. So I got this
That's
very
cool.
early Tony Allen kind of
That's
lesson.
super cool.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with Johnny lasted not very long, but through that I had got an affiliation, an introduction to, well, no, I was in a band in Texas with a keyboard player by the name of Raitt, and he recorded me and Terry Wilson, my mate for many, many years, who lives here with his wife, produces records on her, Teresa James, a great songwriter.
Yep.
And we got to play with the Johnny Nash band, and then while we were out on the road with Johnny Nash, we did some recordings with Raitt, who had moved from Texas to Sweden, and he was writing songs with Johnny Nash and Bob Marley before Bob was famous.
Wow.
They all lived in a house in Stockholm.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and Bob didn't even have dreadlocks then.
Yeah.
And Johnny Nash.
Rastafarians living in Stockholm.
Yeah, exactly. And Johnny Nash, Johnny Nash's manager, Danny Sims, famous New York guy, introduced Chris Blackwell to.
That does not surprise me.
And boom, that's how Marley got his start.
Yeah.
And then,
Chris is actually from Jamaica. His mother was.
Yeah, right, exactly.
His mother
was
Jamaican. So.
Yeah.
That's that connect. Oh, well, actually,
they had a family business.
Crazy quick story about Chris Blackwell, who founded Island Records. I was reading a little bit about him, and he almost drowned.
I didn't know that.
down in Jamaica somewhere, and was rescued by a Rastafarian guy that was like walking down the beach, pulled him out of the drink. And supposedly in this biography, he says, from that day forward, I wanted to learn about the Rastafarian culture because he got saved by this guy.
Wow.
I'll find it.
And hence Bob Marley and the whole incredible movement of music.
That and then also Stevie Winwood and other people, but yeah.
No, he was very smart about hiring. I mean, I got to go. I was asked then by Raitt, would Terry and I like to come over to London for a spell, a 6-month trial, 6 months, and do some recording with him.
When he had Island Studios.
We had both of them, Hammersmith as well as Basing Street. Yeah. So I got to go over there and just work in Basing Street and Hammersmith all the time.
Ron Nevison actually started out there as well.
I know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I was working in both of those studios, and then when I lived in London, I got to work at.
So were you becoming more of a session player at that time? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then the English guys discover these 2 guys from Texas who played a little differently than the English guys, and they would hire us.
I love it.
I had all sorts of clients, that would. That's how I met Mutt Lange, and
now
we got to be great
you're
friends.
international, all the way from Houston to Stockholm to London.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Your parents are probably like, "What?"
They're going, "Where is he?" I mean, the first time I did,
he's not at the Polka Dot Lounge anymore.
Not at the Polka Dot Lounge anymore. See what the Polka Dot Lounge did, Dad?
Yeah, it was good.
Boom, just a stepping stone.
The
first time I went to England, I didn't come home for 18, 19 months.
I bet.
And my mom and dad were like, are you ever going to come back? I go, maybe, And when I came back,
Now you're all
I
sophisticated,
told my
man.
dad a story about being in a pub and having some guys from Texas walk in, and I went up. My girlfriend at the time went up to him and said, "Oh, my boyfriend's from Texas," and they looked over at me with long hair and tight jeans and everything, and they said in their Texas accent, "Tell him we're from Houston, Mississippi." Then you know what I mean? They didn't want. They
We're not a
disowned
fag.
me.
Yeah, he
I
looks like a faggot with his long hair.
I told my dad that when I got back, and my dad says, "Well, you do sound like a damned Englishman." And I went,
so funny.
"Wow, I'm in that world."
When we were growing up, that was the thing. I mean, I very much remember you had long hair and
Yeah.
people would you look like a girl, you know.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like,
Oh,
it was
God.
there was definitely, even though my parents were racist, there was a lot of rednecks,
Yeah.
you know, a lot of goofiness. And then my brother got that same older brother, that my brother Rick, that plays resonator kind of blues guitar. He's a great player, actually, my brother, but
I'd love to hear it.
you would dig it, actually. But he got busted for weed after coming out to L.A. and this is like in 1966. And my dad was out here for a minute, and then he goes back to Charleston and he gets busted for weed. And they're like, "You smoked marijuana in California?" He said, "No, sir. The first time I ever smoked pot was right here on Folly Beach." You know. And when he got put on probation, one of the conditions of probation, had to cut his hair.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
because
right.
his hair
they made
was
that, you do that
his
back
hair
then.
was long, and he was a
Yeah.
guitar player and had a band, but he had to have really short hair. And so while he was on probation, my mom bought him a short-haired wig. And so even though as his hair was growing out,
Stuffed it up
he'd
in there?
stuff it up in this
Your
in this wig.
mom.
And good parents, my parents. My dad built her amps and stuff. He's an electrical genius, my dad. He was an electronics engineer who built the safety systems on nuclear submarines for nuclear missiles.
Wow.
And I'd say, "Dad, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm trying to keep the Navy from blowing us up." You know, post-Cold War, whatever, Cold War, whatever. Anyway, but one day the Narcs that in our little town in Charleston, he was playing a gig, and they went in, Powell and Bocce. I remember these guys. They tried to torment me too, but they pulled the wig off his head, and his hair tumbled out, and they arrested him.
Wow.
My mom got him out.
Those were the days.
And my
right?
mom got him out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the kind of thing. So those guys walking into a pub and you saying you're from Houston with tight jeans and long hair, that doesn't surprise me.
Wanted nothing to do with me. You know
That
what I mean?
doesn't surprise me.
No, I really, the whole English experience was great for me because I got to work with some amazing engineers over there.
I think
and
you
I got
become
to work.
sophisticated real quick. You become worldly.
A little bit, yeah. I got to play. I got
a
to
good
work.
way.
I got to work at Olympic a lot and
Yeah,
Trident and Air
amazing.
Studios and so and all these wonderful. And then I got to work out at Rockfield with Mutt Lange quite a bit.
wow.
He would call me up and I'd get on a train and go out there and play for him.
What? And there was one in Wales or some studio.
That was it. Rockfield.
Oh, Rockfield. That's
Yeah.
what I thought. Yeah.
Oh, there was a lot of good stuff there.
Robert Carranza talks about that place.
It was fun. You're out in the middle of nowhere.
I'm Welsh, actually. All four of my
Are
grandparents
you really?
are Welsh. Yeah.
Oh,
Do I look
great.
Welsh?
Yeah.
I met Tom Jones. He said I looked Welsh.
Really?
But,
I never thought about that.
Yeah, because the Welsh people are a little bit darker and
Yeah.
have curly hair.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, not that they all look the same, but yeah,
Right.
apparently
Not your pure English
We're
bread.
darker skinned than the
Right.
regular Brits.
Right.
And we're the indigenous people of those isles, by the way. Supposedly,
That's
the
very
Welsh.
true.
And the Welsh flag is one of the oldest flags, untouched,
Yeah.
unadulterated flags. It's a dragon on a field of green with red and white.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a drag. It's just a big flag of a dragon.
And
the
Welsh has its
flag.
own
language.
and own.
Can't speak it at all.
You
but
can't, no.
I think it's cool. We were starting to talk about the Gullah Geechee culture earlier. I think it's very cool that in Wales, they teach the Welsh language in school.
That's right.
You know,
They're proud of it.
Yeah, they're very proud of it, and you have to know how to speak.
You really
Welsh.
don't hear this very much. That's quite a secret right there. Even when you're in England, you know, they don't talk about it very much.
They're extremely proud of it, and
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're gonna learn the Welsh language.
Yeah,
if you're in
exactly.
Wales.
It was really a lot. What a great experience to be over there. And you know, I joined a band. It was like an offshoot of Free.
Oh, dude, what a great
Paul
band.
Kossoff was the guitar player, and he was looking for a band to after Bad Company became the other guys, and or they all started Bad Company, and they had hits. And Terry and I were at Island Records, and we got asked to join the band, and At first I wasn't crazy about it. It wasn't the kind of music I wanted to play because it was really loud and really hard. And I went, I'm trying to get a little more
Finesse it,
sophisticated,
yeah,
finesse
yeah.
it a little bit more. But I did it, and I did it for several years, and so I was like
A
a
lot of great
long-haired
bands at
rock
that
guy,
time, you know, Traffic,
Yeah. Oh, and
Free,
that was fantastic. Those are,
Cream. I think
yeah,
Jack Bruce and Paul Rogers are two of my favorite singers.
without a doubt.
You know,
Paul
other
Rogers.
pre Chris Cornell. Got to give Chris Cornell a
Ooh,
shout out. He's in
wow.
that same ilk, but
Yeah.
of good singer.
I think a lot of those guys will learn from Chris Cornell.
I have no questions.
Yeah.
But were you were you at Red Zone when John had Paul Rogers come in and do a session?
I wasn't there that day, but I remember when it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was amazing that he got him to do it because
Dude.
Paul's not very open
Dude,
to go do other
he
things.
was so good, and not to be derogatory about him because he's an unbelievable singer,
Correct.
but not a rocket scientist. I'll leave it at that.
That's other comments similar have been made.
I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Super sweet,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah. I also met Brian Ferry through John.
Oh, he was nice.
So sweet, so sweet.
Great guy.
But not a rocket scientist.
That's true.
But you don't have to be a rocket scientist if you look like that and you sing like that.
No,
you
you're
know?
on your own agenda. It
You got
doesn't
your own-
matter, right?
It's all good.
It's-
And I think I went to the blues thing that they had. Remember in Catalina, how they have the blues
Yeah,
festival every year in
yeah.
Catalina? And I would chop her in, because it was cheap then. It was like $50,
Really?
round trip.
I
to
never
fly.
did that.
Oh, it was so fun. Yeah,
always
John
took the
hit me
boat.
to it.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like $50. It was really cheap. And so I got Brian, and we go to the Catalina Blues Festival. And when we leave, it's me, Brian, and Paul Rogers in the helicopter.
Wow.
And I'm like, hey, Paul, and he didn't recognize me or anything. And I said, oh yeah, I managed the studio. You did the session for. He's like, really? And he goes, oh, I think I remember that. And I don't think he did remember it, but Brian was just thrilled. Like,
Of
we're on the
course. Oh,
helicopter.
yeah.
There's four.
Starstruck,
Well, there's
right?
three of us.
Yeah,
That's
I
it. The
can
only
imagine,
people in the
Brian.
helicopter.
That's funny. That's
But
funny.
yeah, fly to Catalina in the helicopter. Now it's $300. But
Wow.
But anyway, so when you left all that experience that you had with Island and playing then and being around that, what a great time to be in London, dude.
Oh, yeah, it was
What
the
an
beginning of
amazing
punk.
time.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we lived on Kings Road the first 6 or 8 months, or something like that. And we lived down 4 doors down from it was called The Sex Shop, and Malcolm McLaren, no, Malcolm, whatever the guy.
Malcolm McLaren.
Yeah, that started the Sex Pistols.
Yep.
Had that clothing shop there, and they sold pins and weird clothes and everything. And one day I walk out after being in the studio all night long, getting up at around 1 o'clock in the afternoon and going across the street and begging for them to cook me some breakfast, which they would, a Russian couple. And
Nice.
I look out and I go, what is that? And there's all this strange hair and all this
Mohawk.
stuff hanging out of the guys' ears and faces and everything. And I went, what the hell is going on?
Dude, punk.
And that was my very first notice physically in public. I'd heard the word punk,
Yeah.
and I went, I don't know what they're talking
Well, it's a
about.
different word to it. Punk meant something different to us.
Correct.
At that
correct.
time.
But
Punk
that was the beginning of it. So it was a really
Yeah.
interesting time, and to watch all that,
Joe,
that
I
change.
don't know if it was Joe Strummer or something said they were talking about like pseudo punks and kids that ripped their clothes and
Yeah.
put the pins. He goes, "We were poor." He goes, "Our clothes were ripped." He goes, "We really were. We didn't have any money."
Right.
And the reason we had that style of ripped pants and a pin and that and the other, and we were defiant, was because we were so frickin' poor.
Yeah.
He said we were so economically depressed.
Correct.
Working class London, kind of, you got the posh London looking down
right.
on the poor Londoners, and you got these angry kids like,
Right.
hey, we're frickin' poor.
Wow, amazing.
But then you get the CBGB's thing in New York. It all
Yeah, New York, it all
transits
blew
to-
up a different
to blow up
way.
a different
yeah,
way. But MC5,
Yeah.
Clash, Sex Pistols. I was into like that whole kind of ska crossover thing, which was like the
Yes.
Selector and the Specials and then Madness
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And then you had that ska thing, which by the way, I don't even know what ska stands for.
Scott, Scott,
Is that what it is? That makes perfect
Scott.
sense. That actually makes perfect sense. See, I just learned something today. You have had so much more. What a fascinating life you have had. And we haven't, by the way, we haven't even scratched the surface
I know, no.
of this stuff with Tony.
We'd have to come back another day.
Tony's maybe 23 now, I think.
Yeah.
Right? About
So
23 or 24.
right around there, yeah.
If we didn't have a session in here, I wouldn't stop you. Oh, yeah, we got to stop soon. But I still haven't gotten to, so you were Texas, New York, London. When did you come to L.A.?
When I got the band, kind of, I wouldn't say the band fell apart. Crawler, but we had.
That's a cool name. That's familiar.
We were Backstreet Crawler and signed to Atlantic with Paul. Paul passed away, and Paul had some real problems, and he passed away on an airplane from Los Angeles to New York overnight.
Oh God, that's scary for the person
he
next
was
to him.
sitting next to me when we took off.
Oh Jesus!
That's a whole other story.
He died on the plane.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
It's a
Kind of the
shame.
heaviest.
It's
Glad you're okay.
about as heavy as you can
Yeah,
get.
that's kind of the heaviest.
Landing in New York City.
Don't wake him up. He's
Well,
fine. I'm going to get my luggage.
He had already gone. He'd gone to the bathroom, but anyhow,
good.
he and they found him in the bathroom.
Oh God.
And that's a real low point.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Sorry that you had to go through
So
that.
we had to go recover, and the record came out, and Atlantic decided they wanted us to go find another big star guitar player, and they talked to Mick and what's his face from the Rolling Stones.
Mick Taylor.
Mick Taylor.
Oh fuck, I love him.
And they talked.
He's my favorite.
They even talked to Peter Green.
Oh,
and it
so
was
good.
So
Sorry, Ronnie Wood and Keith
Yeah.
Richards. I love you both, but I
know.
love Mick Taylor.
Oh, me too. Me
Dude,
too.
what a great player.
So we couldn't find that caliber person, but we found somebody locally that was really good. Had been playing with Procol-Harum a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And we kept the Atlantic dropped us, and we found a new manager. We went over to. We got signed a deal with Columbia, and we
Cool.
made 2 records with Columbia.
Cool.
And it just was things weren't going where I wanted musically, and not that I was being so particular, but the business is also hard to deal with. Changing, and so I went, I'm going to go back to the States. I went back to the States, and I went, I think I'm going to stay here. We came over to do some rehearsing and do some gigs in the United States. No, to Texas, and then I went, I don't think I'm going to go back to London, and so I went. I stayed. And then I was working around in nightclubs, and I said to the guys one night, I said, hey, guys, I'm going to L.A. next week. They go, what? I said, I'm just going to L.A. I was going to go stay with my best friend, Willie Arnellis. Willie says, come on, I got a couch.
Nice.
Come on. So I packed up my Mustang, and I put a drum kit in a suitcase, and I drove out here in 1979. And I actually had a rehearsal that night after a 27-hour drive.
Jesus.
I had a rehearsal that night, and I started playing with these guys locally. And then I met, through another friend of mine from Texas, I met Eric Burdon and did some recording with him.
Dude, the records that you've done with Eric are great. If people listening to this episode of this podcast, first of all, Eric Burdon, famous from the Animals. Also, that song you love, Spill the Wine, that he did with War.
Oh, God.
Jesus, great fucking song. But what a mensch. What a nice guy.
Oh, I love him.
A sweetheart. And a badass singer, dude. And the Animals, right, back to London speak, you had Chaz Chandler, who managed the Animals, and the Linda Porter, who you'd come to meet later. See,
she discovered...
There are no coincidences. She discovers Jimi Hendrix.
Right.
She discovers Jimi Hendrix, and the guy that manages the Animals, Chaz
Chandler was a bass player and manager.
Yeah, bass player manager. You can't make this shit up, dude. And supposedly she took one of Keith's guitars and lent it to Jimmy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a story too when he was Jimmy James in the Blue Flames, that she was dating Keith Richards and Jimmy needed a guitar. Whoopsie.
That Linda. She's something else.
God bless her. I give a shout out to Linda.
I love her.
But it makes so much sense to me now. I was born in L.A. My parents moved when I was 1. I was born in Fontana, and they went to Washington State for a minute, and then I grew up in Charleston, as you know.
Wow.
But then I would come back out. So my brothers come out here, and they get jobs at the record plant, and I'm in high school, right? And that's when I meet Ron Nevison and Mike Klink and a lot of the people that I work with now. And then I finally come back out in 84, and I met you in probably 88 or 80 or maybe 90.
Right.
I met you when you were working with John Porter. But you've glossed over. We definitely got to do a part 2, but we're going to kind of take it up to where you've got to L.A., You had a gig the night after the 27-hour
I
drive.
drove 27 hours. I napped for an hour and went, if I lay down, I'm going to sleep all overnight. But I got to make a rehearsal. The guy calls, hey, can you make the rehearsal? And I went, I just drove 27 hours from Texas, but yeah, I'll be there.
Because
I wanted to work.
We're pros, babe.
Oh yeah, I wanted to work. I didn't want
Don't
anything.
you cry to me about 2 hours sleep?
Yeah, right.
27 hours he drove from Texas.
My friend, my friend Will, I was staying at Willie's house. He goes, "Are you crazy?" I go, "Obviously." You know.
I think we're gonna wrap Tony Braunagel.
You want to
part
wrap?
one
Okay,
right
where do we
here.
stop? 1979.
1979, because, and you know, it's funny, he's still shooting and I'm still talking, but Paula, my dear friend who you know about, Paula, we didn't even get to, like, in her part one, she wasn't even at Sound City yet. Like, she was just out of high school and, like, kind of following the Stones across the states, which is all these people that I've known and love. I've learned so much that I didn't know, you know.
When I was at Island, that's where I met Chaz Sanford.
Wow.
He comes walking
Chaz Sanford's
into
a famous songwriter.
Comes walking into
Working
the pub.
with the babies.
Walking into the pub with
Beautiful.
red hair all the way down here. And,
Yeah.
And he pops up with his
So charismatic.
Georgia accent and everything. We went, who the hell is that? And we hit it off at the pub. Next thing you know, he comes back to the house. We probably smoked something, and then blah,
He
blah,
was
blah.
probably
We're
working with
making
the
music.
babies by then.
No.
Oh, that was much later.
No. He was working with us in the studio.
I love
That's how I met Chaz.
I love
I
that.
I texted him on the way over. I said, I'm going to see Candace now. I said, what would you like for me to tell her? And I said something off color, and he got back and said, yeah, tell her that, but I'm not going to say that. He said, just send her my love. So,
I love him. Dude, what a great songwriter.
He is great.
Well, we're definitely doing a part two. So
Okay.
Tony Braunagel, incredible drummer, incredible talent, great producer. Man about town, bon vivant, man. I didn't know you'd done all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's
There's
cool.
a lot more to talk about.
There is so much. Well, first of all, I love you to please. And for the finale, we might have to do our dance.
Uh-oh.
Okay, the Sedula
I just want to
dance.
say
What?
thank you very much. I love this woman, this person.
Aw.
She, from the very first moment we met in the studio, it became this.
Aw.
You saw it, you witnessed it today. This is what it's been like, and there's never been a shade on it at all. It's always been like this. I love you madly.
I
Thank
love
you very much.
too. I love you too. Yeah, you can't put a shade on our life, bro. You're just gonna waste it.
Say dollar, say dollar, say dollar.